Hurricane warnings are out for the island of Bermuda. Good Thursday evening. I'm Mike Naso with the latest 11 p.m. update on Hurricane Ernesto. As the hurricane strengthens and heads towards Bermuda, we are continuing to track it. Here is the latest from the National Hurricane Center as of 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Hurricane Ernesto was at 27.1 north, 68.1 west. Winds are up to 100 miles per hour. That makes it a Category 2 hurricane, and the pressure continues to fall all the way down to 968 millibars. So it is a solid Category 2 storm, but in order to be a major hurricane, it has to become a Category 3. Right now, the forecast does not have it making that, although it could become a borderline Category 2, 3. As it continues to move towards the northeast, it's going to slow down. Steering currents are going to kind of get a little weaker. However, it will eventually punch out, and by early next week be far up in the North Atlantic. We won't have to deal with it anymore. However, Bermuda is squarely in the middle of the path of uncertainty, as well as the Canadian Maritimes up here, kind of on the left edge of the cone. There's a chance you could see impacts sometime by the end of the weekend. We do have a hurricane warning in effect for the island of Bermuda, and look at that wind field. It's expanded. It's a very large tropical storm force winds and hurricane force winds, especially on the northeastern side, and if the storm moves just to the west of Bermuda, you could get clipped by the northeast quadrant of the hurricane. Now, here's the projected path from the Hurricane Center as of 11 p.m., and again, it could be outside of this line, but the official prog has it right near Bermuda, just to the west of Bermuda, early on Saturday morning with winds of 100 miles per hour. So that would be very, very close to a direct hit. It would definitely be an impact. If the center doesn't cross the island, it wouldn't be a landfall, but if the right eye wall moves over Bermuda, you could have quite a wallop there. Here's the latest satellite imagery, and again, Ernesto looks like a classic Category 2 hurricane. Category 2 hurricanes are usually about, what this one is, about 100 miles an hour, and they usually have ragged eyes, and this does look kind of like a shaggy hurricane. It's getting a little bit of shear here on the western side. It's been having trouble closing off a very solid inner core, but this kind of spiral snake-type hurricane is indicative of a Category 2, and that's what we have. Now, in red, where I circle right there, is the island of Bermuda, and it appears to be headed directly towards the island as of Thursday night. So again, be checking your hurricane plans, making sure everything's ready to go for the impacts from Ernesto, because even if the hurricane moved well to your west, which is not really going to turn to the northwest, so it's hard to do that, but even if it moved in that direction, you would still be impacted because of how large this system is. You're already starting to get the outer banding approaching you here in Bermuda, so weather is going to go downhill the next 2 days. Ernesto is moving towards Bermuda, and it is expected to bring a prolonged period of strong winds and storm surge from Friday afternoon through Saturday night. As mentioned, we have that hurricane warning in effect. All preparations to protect life and property should be rushed to completion. Rainfall with Ernesto is expected to begin to affect Bermuda overnight, as I showed you on that satellite. It's getting close for the rain, and that may result in flash flooding Friday through the weekend. And finally, even though Ernesto is going to remain well offshore the eastern seaboard of the U.S., swells generated by the hurricane are expected to begin affecting the area throughout the weekend. Beachgoers need to be aware that it's not just the high surf that's life-threatening, but also rip currents. Very, very dangerous. Stay out of the water, especially if advised by lifeguards. Surf and rip currents possible. Turks, Caicos, Bahamas, Bermuda, Atlantic Canada. Pretty much the entire western Atlantic will have high swells because of this hurricane, Ernesto. Now, I wanted to touch on a couple of things. We've been hearing a lot of people say, you know, this is expected to be such a busy hurricane season. Where are the hurricanes? It's mid-August. It's the night of August the 15th. Well, if you look at some of the analog years, that is, the years that we think this hurricane season might most resemble, there's a couple of things. First of all, a lot of them were horrific hurricane seasons. Secondly, a lot of the activity doesn't really pick up until the very tail end of August. Now, this is the hurricane season of 1926, which is one of the analog years. We had a horrible hurricane, a Category 4, go over downtown Miami September 18th of that year. and it was very busy. But August 15th is right here. Look at how all the activity came way after. That was 1926, one of this year's analog years. In 1933, one of the busiest seasons we ever saw, August 15th is right here. Everything that happened afterwards came later. 1995, when I was a little kid, we had many hurricanes. Luis, Marilyn, Opal, Roxanne. We're right here. Everything that came after. And look at how it starts at the tail end of August and then right into September. And then, of course, 2017, the year of Harvey, Irma, Maria, Nate. Remember those storms? Well, we're right here. Harvey was late August, and then Irma, Jose, Katia, Lee, Maria, Nate. Just a ton of hurricanes throughout September. So this should tell people that when they're looking and going, well, this is supposed to be such a busy year, we're in the middle of August. Believe me, it's coming. It really is. It's coming. Right now, the Gulf of Mexico looks pretty quiet. Off the eastern seaboard, there's our ragged, shaggy Hurricane Ernesto headed towards Bermuda. But after Ernesto, there's nothing on the horizon. But believe me, it's coming. I'm Mike Nasa with the latest on Hurricane Ernesto, and I'll talk to you next time.